listening to an inside look with North America's top 50 site consultants. How do I land a big deal in my community? What are location consultants really looking for? Join us as we pull back the curtain and look inside the secrets of site selection with your hosts, Tim Tarrantine and Amanda Harrison.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into an inside look, North America's top 50 site consultants. I'm Amanda here with my colleague Tim.
Hey.
And today we have the pleasure of hearing an interview that Tim did with Don Schjeldahl, the principal of the Don Schjeldahl Group. So Tim, tell us a little bit about what you guys talked about.
Well, Don's really an innovator in the site selection industry. He's a founding member of the Site Selectors Guild, which we know is a very important part of the conversation around site selecting in the nation. And also, he started the Competitive Ready Consulting Consortium. So this is a man who really takes the industry seriously. He's a professional, and he's passionate about communities. He's got a particular passion around kind of industrial spaces and making sure that energy and efficiency is a part of what communities bring to the table. I hope you take out your notebooks and learn from Don. He's a great leader, and we look forward to continued success for him and his company.
Take a listen.
Don, welcome to the podcast. And congratulations on being named one of North America's top 50 site consultants. I'm so happy to be here with you to talk through this. Don, we're going to dive right into the questions here today so we can understand from you who you are and what types of things you're doing and what we can learn together. So tell us 3 things everyone should know about you, Don.
Well, thanks, Tim. Appreciate the opportunity to talk today. So I guess one thing many people don't know about me is that I've spent my entire work career in site selection. I've been doing site selection for almost 35 years and haven't really strayed outside of that. So I've always focused on trying to better my trade in the site selection consulting. The other thing is I did take a 3-year break in the early 1980s. I worked on graduate degrees in urban economics and industrial location. So even when I wasn't actively working on projects, I was bettering my trade. And probably the one thing many people don't know about me is I took a 2-year break recently to work for my last and best client when I was at the Austin company, and that was Sierra Nevada Brewing. I recommended a site in North Carolina for their $150 million brewery. And I went to work for them for 2 years to help manage the development of the project. And I learned a whole new perspective on economic development, seeing how things come out of the ground. So
Sure.
I came out of that very with a greater appreciation for the profession.
I am certain that you have seen many interesting projects and communities in your time. But let's go back in a time machine, if we can, to when you started in site selection. Your entire career has been there. Why did you get involved with site selection, and how did you get there? How did you get into the game?
Yeah, I think, I've had a lot of time to reflect on that. And I grew up in a rural small town in Minnesota in the 1960s, and, knew there was a big world out there, but always had this desire to go explore it. And I had the freedom in my family structure. I had the freedom of a lot of independence, and I traveled a lot, even in high school, traveled around the country, went to Europe, and that wanderlust never really left me. When I went to the University of Minnesota, I got a degree in economic geography, which led to my first professional job at Kmart Corporation doing store location in the 1970s.
Wow. So after all these years of history and everything you've seen in terms of projects and communities, talk to us about today. What are the key issues for your clients or the companies, and what can economic developers and communities do about it?
The benefit of being around a long time in one profession and seeing how company decisions and economies evolve over time. I've got this, I think it's really good, long wave perspective on, what it takes to be successful today. And, we live in this global economy that is becoming increasingly integrated and making decisions, very complex and lots of levels of detail. And so how does a community compete within that? Well, in the old days, it was all things to all people. You get a piece of property and you try to sell it to whoever comes down the road. Today, it's really about targeting. So the key issue for me is that communities need to understand their assets and their liabilities and to take those and use those to target specific types of projects that make sense not only for the community but for the company and their long-term prosperity, long-term profitability.
So figuring out who we are and what the communities do well, what assets we have, to you is really the issue for economic developers and communities today.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I think that's it. And in a way that really makes the economic development job a little clearer. The goals are clearer because you're not running around chasing everything. You chase the things that make the most sense, and that's a smaller target.
Great insight, Don. Great insight, and I hope it's helpful for those who are listening. Another question. This is more about you, and obviously you have many things you've learned over time, but is there a leadership lesson that you carry with you and you hope to pass on to others when you think about this work and your leadership?
I'm always learning. Even though 35 years, I still learn something every day, and the only way you can do that is to be collaborative, open-minded. Don't be stuck in some old way of thinking. And from a leadership standpoint, always look for people that maybe are standing on the outside of the power structure or the community leadership profile. Look for people who, and particularly young people. I think that you really need to look to young people and try to nurture them and bring their ideas out, because those are the people that are going to help you move forward in the future.
Sure. So one last question. I want to get you out of here on this. Obviously, you talked about the leadership lessons. We've talked about, kind of what the key issues are today and where you've come from in your span of leadership. But if there were one message, if you were in a room with economic developers, what would be the one thing you would say to that group? What would you want them to know after all these years of experience, all the companies, all the communities, all the problems you've helped to solve? What's the one thing?
We live in this era of fast-paced, constant change, instant gratification, and we tend to translate or transfer that idea into everything we do. We want things to move faster, quicker. Economic development is really more of a marathon than a sprint. Come up with a good strategy, always test your ideas, but follow your strategy, and good things will come eventually. Don't expect instant success.
Don, that's great wisdom, and I appreciate you answering the questions and being a part of this. Most of all, I thank you for being one of North America's top 50 site consultants. Congratulations, and thank you.
All right, Tim, thanks very much.
Thank you for tuning in to North America's Top 50, produced by Consultant Connect, where we're working to bridge the gap between leading economic developers and location consultants. To learn more about what we do and how to get involved, please visit consultantconnect.com or tweet me at Ron Kitchens.